Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Donald Francis. And listen, I know you've been seeing a lot of the videos on this particular channel. It's a very, very new channel because we have a new community. But listen, I wanted to explain to all of you what we do all in Elevate Circle. And I want to explain the 5-step system that we go by. I'm right now in a free session and I'm explaining all of what you need to know. All right. So look, enjoy. Talk to you soon. So let's just say, for an example, you have this key and somebody would ask you, do me a favor, can you please open this door? You're like, sure, I'll open the door. Now, I'm gonna tell you, this is how people with anxiety are created. You know, you have all confidence in your life because you know exactly how to open the door. If your teacher, when you're in second grade, would have asked you, or third grade, can you please open the door, take the key? You already know exactly how to do that. You get what I'm saying? So you open the door with ease because you've done it before. You can do it in your sleep. It's nothing, But what happens when you open the door? You go to open the door, but then the door will not open, and it's something that have denied you. You know what I'm saying? And so now here's the deal. We deal with two people when this situation happens, two people. First, you might have the person who says, I've tried this door multiple times. You know what? Let me go back to the person who said that this door, this key is to this door. Let me go back to that person. Go back to the person to assure them you've tried this 3 times and this door didn't open. And they assured you that this key was to this particular door. You get what I'm saying? And so they come back, and they go to open the door themselves. Now, let me ask you a question. Have you ever been here before as to where that individual have come back to open the door, and they succeeded, but you couldn't open the door and you tried 3 times? You know, that's how people with anxiety and existential anxiety become born. This is how they are created. So now, obviously, that's something that was that scenario that took place. But then now you're in the same situation. And I do believe that, you never ever passed any tests until you've revisited the situation that you couldn't do before, to be able to do it now, have been given a choice to be able to do it, or a chance. So now a second time, this is another person who have asked you, do me a favor, take this key and open this door. You go to open the door, and the same exact thing from the first time you've done this find itself happening again. Now, let me tell you, now that the first person went back to go get the person and tell them, whether they look crazy or not. They had the nerve to at least let them know, listen, this key is not to this door. I can't open the door. You come and open the door yourself. But now, the second go round, you find yourself in the same scenario, different person, but this is what happens. Now, you remember the first time that you've done this and it didn't happen. And you were sure last time it didn't work because this is the wrong key. And now you become somebody else. And that somebody else is, you're not blaming the person or confronting the person who's giving you the key again this time. You are now stuck battling with this door, and everybody metaphorically have the same situation going on in their lives. And see, your door might not be a physical door, you know, but a lot of people are stuck in their mind, and they say the same thing as to where I'm too ashamed to go back to the person, too ashamed to go tell this person, too ashamed, to admit that I cannot open this door. And so instead, what they do is that they continue to stay at the door to try to open the door as best as they can because of embarrassment and because of shame. Let me tell you something real quick. I remember I was someone that if you brought me to your birthday party, you invited me, I would go to the birthday party. I love birthday cake. I love birthday cake. I love custard filling. I love buttercream. And I sure enough love pineapple. You thought I was going to say strawberry, right? Now, I'm not a strawberry dude. I like pineapple, I like custard, and I like buttercream. If you took a head count at your birthday party before you cut your cake, and you included me in your head count, then I was going to be, getting a piece of cake, whatever the case to be. And then it was time for you to distribute that cake and you overlooked me. Back in the days, I would have been that particular individual that I know I wanted a piece of that cake. I would watch you put that thing back in the refrigerator. You see what I'm saying? And then I'll watch you. And then on top of that, now here's the deal. 2 things happen during this moment. I'm a little upset. I'm a little nervous to even share or say, yo, I wanted the birthday cake. I wanted you forgot me, But instead, what happens is that they put the cake back in the refrigerator. They notice everybody else eating cake, then they notice me not eating cake. And now they're like, Donald, you didn't get a piece of cake. Yo, what's going on? Now all eyes are on me. I was ashamed, number one, of saying that you didn't count me in. Number two, I didn't want the attention on me, you know? And it's so funny today, while, where I am right now, I'm a leader of a church. I've always been in the forefront. I find myself speaking to people. Heck, I'm on social media right now talking to you. You get what I'm saying? And at the same time, I never thought that I found myself doing this. I never thought that I found myself talking to people and coming out of my shell of being shy. But sometimes when you hold stuff in, that's when anxiety and existential anxiety begin to take place, because you're holding it, you're not saying anything, you don't want to be embarrassed, and you don't want to speak up for yourself. And that's what happens. Stuck at the door. That's exactly what we're like. And a lot of people in their own way are stuck at their own doors. And you're stuck at the door could be, I lost a job. You're stuck at the door could be, I lost a loved one. You're stuck at the door could be, I lost my relationship. I got divorced or whatever. You're stuck in, at the door could be anything. I tried to become successful by writing my book, but it didn't happen. Things didn't go to where I found myself in a dip moment. Come on, Steph Golden. And not just that, but I found myself doing a lot of stuff and I just can't. And I found myself wanting to give up. It's nothing worse than wanting to give up something, but yet your hand is still at the door because for some reason you feel that you could do it, but your willpower is going low. Let me tell you exactly what happens when you are stuck at whatever your door is. You feel sad and don't want to say nothing, just like I didn't want to say that they left me out of getting cake, but your action says this: you seem so disconnected from everybody. You know what I'm saying? And so this is the substitute for sadness for you, and then watch this. You feel scared or afraid, and you don't want to ever admit that that's what you feel. And instead, this is what your actions display, that you're restless. You see what I'm saying? Watch this. You might feel like you're broken and you don't want to explain, or you don't ever want to admit that broke me. I felt bad. I felt envy. That hurt me, and I have to go home. But instead, you always display that you're stuck. You get what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, when you feel these particular things, you can feel disconnected. You can feel restless. You can feel stuck. And in all reality, you just feel sad and you feel scared and you feel broken and don't want to admit that. You know what that's called? It's called having anxiety, And after a while, when you hold this, it becomes existential anxiety, rather you know it or not, And so you know what happens during this time? This is what happens. You internalize a dose of self-blame for being stuck at a door when the lack of access was never yours to fix in the first place. And sometimes we blame ourselves for keys that people gave us, and we thought that for some reason or another, we were supposed to fix the problem when the key never went to that particular door. We blame ourselves. We're stuck at that particular place. We feel sad. We feel broken. We feel scared, and never ever want to admit anything as such. You get what I'm saying? So what happens at that particular time, your mind don't know exactly where to go. You don't know exactly what to do when it comes to this. Your mind don't know what to say. Your mind don't know where to go. Your mind don't even know who to turn to. And you know what your mind is searching for? When your mind go into search mode, when things are up on your face like that, you feel sad, you feel restless, you feel stuck, you feel broken, you feel disconnected. You know what happens? Your mind is now trying to find what we call normalcy. And that is the man that's right here that felt what he felt, the lady right there that felt what she felt before the stuck door was introduced to you, before the situation have ever happened to you. You get what I'm saying? That's what happens to you. You are looking for normalcy. You're looking for the person you were before it happened to you, whatever it was in your life. What happened to you that caused you to have anxiety, to have those voices talk to you, to have those thoughts? You chase after those thoughts that come, And so there's a time, that these things happen in life and nobody want to talk about it. You know why? Because we never really had any language to to express it. We never had an English language to say what it was. Being stuck, being sad, being disconnected is having anxiety, you know? And if you want to be more specific, it can transfigure, because we have all type of anxieties, right? But it can transfigure into existential anxiety, as to where now you begin to even question your own existence. What's my purpose in life? Why do I feel this way? What am I doing? Why do I exist? You know what I'm saying? Yo, if you ever go to the Bible, it talks about a man named Solomon who talks about this world is meaningless. You know, I don't care about this world. And so he went through some type of existential anxiety, y'all. You feel what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, sometimes we go through these anxieties and we don't know exactly where to go. We feel broken, we feel sad, we feel restless, we feel stuck. You know what I'm saying? So listen, I want you to know that even in the same manner, this is the reason why I came up with a community that I've been working on for about 4 years now. For those of you who know me, I had what they call It's Life podcast. Then it went from, well, I had It's All You TV, and I still have those channels. I have It's Life podcast. Tried out, doing this and, doing that. Just still trying to find my way to build a community and also find ways to help people, Shout out to Hudson Yards. And at the same time, I went from there to Manifest Thoughts podcast, and I'm still alive on that, And then all of a sudden, while, doing my research, I've come to discover how I could create a community, and it's not Facebook, it's not YouTube, it's not Instagram, it's not a private chat, it's not an email list, it's not any of that. It is an actual network that I've created called Elevate Circle for people who battle and fight with anxiety. And I want to show you the blueprint while I'm at it, to this particular community that we do have. This is the blueprint. This is the 5-step system that I've come up with that helped me to come through anxiety like never before, And so we take a look at tab 1. Tab 1 helps us to understand anxiety. And I don't mean the anxiety that says that, oh, I'm panicking or I'm walking in fear, but we're talking about the actual anxiety that says, no matter what age you are, you thought that you should have had life figured out by now. You in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, and you feel I should have had life all together by now. I should have had my plan. I should have had and I'm going to tell you, truth be told, there's so many people go to college and they still don't know exactly what they want to do despite what they majored in. Some people want to pivot. You feel what I'm saying? Because people talked about, come on, y'all, when you were young, they oftentimes asked you, what would you like to be? A policeman, a fireman, a doctor, a lawyer, even some judges, whatever the case would be, But even within saying all that, you said that because your friend said that, But it's not really until you tap into your genius, And you know what a genius is? A genius is someone who read this person's book, that person's book, saw that person's mistakes, saw that person's success, saw that person's success. And what they did is that they took all that information, combined it in one, and now they tried to relate it to themselves to see where they fit in, you see? And now all of a sudden they came out with what it is that they are able to present to people, their experiences, their failures, their ups, their downs, their highs, their lows. And this is one of the charts that I've come up with that it would help you out. And I pray that it help you out. So the type of anxiety that says, I should have had life figured out by now. And also the type of anxiety that says, you know what? I'm always being bombarded, with noise in my head, that one voice. You know what I'm saying? And I can't shut it off. It's like, the kind of anxiety that says my body sleeps at night, but my mind won't shut off. I find myself more mentally tired rather than I am physically tired, So you think that you should have life figured out, and then you find the voice and the thoughts always going through your head uncontrollably, and you don't know how to control it. When you find yourself in a predicament and in a situation as such, you know what your mind go to? It go to what we call search mode. And this is what we teach now, Elevate Circle. I want to just give you a little taste of what search mode is all about. Listen, you'll go search Google, you'll go to search YouTube, you'll go to search, search social media. You'll even go and ask, other people's opinion. And when you go ask other people's opinion, you search Google and stuff like that, it doesn't quite hit the nail, it doesn't hit the hammer on the nail, for you. And you're like, why can't I find what I'm looking for? But when you're in search mode, you feel productive because you feel that you're doing something about what it is that you're going through, and at the end of the day, even though you feel like you're being productive, can I tell you, when you're searching for something and you don't have no structure, you know, what takes place is that now you become frustrated, and what your body is actually in, it's in panic attack. That's all. And it's coupled up and it's covered with what they call, anxiety or exhaust, you know, and you're disgusted at the same time because you can't find what it is that you're quite looking for. You can't find anything in your mind and in your memory to beat down what's going on internally and externally. You get what I'm saying? So your mind go to search mode. And when you look at these two tabs, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to understand that these two tabs are information. That's all they are. You get what I'm saying? But when you get to the next three tabs, it's transformation. And everybody's looking for information. And I'm not here to motivate you. I'm not here to give you inspiration. I'm here to explain to you some of the things that you go through, because I care about you, and I want you to see that your mind go into shock and it actually go into panic by searching, asking other people's opinion. Everybody got their own experiences and can't quite hit the nail, on the head, and you're like, wow, I still feel empty. I still feel like, and so you don't feel productive, you don't feel productive. And so after you found that, you're scrambled eggs to some degree, I want to introduce you to RRP mode. Now in RRP mode, which is our third tab, is called recognize, realign or rename, or readjust and practice, because see, anytime that you recognize what you're going through, it's good to acknowledge it. Never, ever ignore. These thoughts are going through my head and these feelings are taking me over. When mental get to emotion and emotion, they become together, and with your mental, you start to act, you feel like you're about to lose it, but RRP mode got you. I got you, because sometimes we have to recognize, redesign the meaning of what you're going through, and then you want to position yourself, when you recognize what these things are, then you rename the meaning of what it actually is and show, like, change your point of view. Then you can position yourself to take control of it. That's the only way I could explain it in the most small packaged way. That's the only way I can give. But we go in depth in this to the degree beyond measure. When you've come through the RRP mode, you're going through transformation. So it's going to take you some time. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. This is not a fly by night type of thing that's going to, help you. You got to understand that some things take time, just like some things took time for you to develop these thoughts in your life in order that it became a lifestyle to you. Ladies and gentlemen, also understand that we're not dropping habits. We're dropping a lifestyle thought, system. And this is what we have to do in order for us to get through that. So RRP will help you to recognize, reposition, yourself and rename its meaning, and also it's going to help you to position yourself to take control of those thoughts. When you come out of it, it's kind of like a caterpillar going into a cocoon, coming out a butterfly. When you come out of this, we go in depth in this, but I want you to know that after a while, you go to what we call edit stage. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm a cinematographer, and I'm also an editor and a colorist at the same time. I want you to know that I know about edit. And sometimes, even like this video, I'm gonna edit some of the video at the same time so that it won't be as long as it is as I talk, and I'm gonna cut out the oohs and the ahs and the ums and this, that, and the other. But you wanna make sure that before you present it to everybody, that you cut the fluff. You know what I'm saying? Let me tell you, I wish I had my jacket. But listen, everybody, this shirt that I have on, this hat that I have, notice the seamstress and the person who made, this tie, this shirt, this hat, before they put this on display, right? What they did was that they took care of it. They knew it was nothing but a cloth. They took it through the RRP mode situation. You see what I'm saying? They had to wash it. They cut it. They sewed it, all this other stuff, right? But when you go to edit stage, they go to take a look at after they got the sleeves together, after the collars together, after the hat is good, they go looking for what type of string or thread do I have to go and cut to make sure that everything seemed to be to the T. It's no different from some of us brothers. We go to the barbershop, some of you have good goatees and beards and stuff like that. We have a whole lot of hair on our head, we'll get our dark Caesar, our light Caesar, whatever the case may be, Your barber know your haircut is nothing without a hairline, so he's going to make sure that those edges are cut, because we know that when you walk outside, you're displaying his brand, you're displaying his product. You get what I'm saying? But notice what he does with your beard or your goatee. He'll shape it up and stuff like that, but then he'll take out the scissors and he start to cut any of the loose hair follicles. You get what I'm saying? To make sure that everything look to the T and it look nice and neat. So when people see it, they're like, wow, that's a well-groomed man. You get what I'm saying? Y'all ladies, same thing. I think some of y'all cut the edges or whatever the case be to make things, even or whatever. Don't get me to go crazy. I don't know about all that stuff. You feel me? But at the end of the day, that's your edit stage mode. You get what I'm saying? As to where no thought in your mind have to have a belief system. Not every thought deserves a belief, but some thoughts that you do have deserve editing. Sometimes you have to just cut some of the fluff, cut some of the fat, cut some of the stuff that don't belong, in that mind. You get what I'm saying? Sometimes you just got to cut it and edit it because you are the new you. You get what I'm saying? Nah, my new name is no, maybe, and I'm not sure. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes while you're in the cutting business and in the editing business, sometimes you might have to edit some people that's in your life. Needless to say, sometimes you might have to do that. You feel what I'm saying? Sometimes you might have to, cut some friends. You have to cut some things, cut some habits. You have to cut the edges to make sure that you now, this new person, the new product, no longer have any strings or any thread that's hanging out that'll make people go, oh, no, here. It's nothing worse than having a suit. People like, oh, wait, come here. And then in the back of your suit with your coat and go, yeah, you're supposed to take that tag off, champ. Or, yo, you're supposed to take that. You had a string or a thread hanging out. That's just so embarrassing to me. You get what I'm saying? Or something from the scene. And then on top of that, we go to the Matrix mode. Listen, my favorite movie is The Matrix. I love everything about The Matrix. And so I added it because I wanted for everybody to be able to relate to this, that sometimes we know that the thoughts that we battle, they're going to come again. The thoughts that we battle, they're going to come again. Not just that, but, some of the anxieties that we have, they're going to come again. They're going to come again. But the difference between the first time you've ever battled with thoughts, the first time that you've ever battled with the voice, the first time you've ever battled, with your, those anxieties, this time, instead of being in the chaos, you are now outside of the chaos looking in it. You get what I'm saying? You're no longer a part of the chaos. It's kind of like having a cut. You have a cut, right? Of course, the cut healed, but you might still have the scab. You have the scab, but there's no more pain. The pain is gone, but you still remember that particular scab. You get what I'm saying? That's exactly what this chaos is. That's exactly what some of the anxieties that may come back. You might see it. It might want to come back. It might try to trigger, but it never trigger your emotions anymore because you've come through RRP mode. You've cut some of the fat and stuff like that through edit mode. And you now know I don't belong in that now. Can't nobody take away, or nothing, or no thought, or no voice can take away, my confidence, my self-esteem, and I'm brand new. And always remember, everybody, when you go through and you're starting to build yourself up, don't expect for people to notice what you are accomplishing right away. Don't expect for people to notice, oh, there's a change in him, there's a change in her, right away. Don't expect that. You have to know, to thy own self be true. And while you're building it up, you're becoming one with who the new you are, or is. You are the new you. And the more and more, and I'm gonna tell you, like I said, it's not a fly by night, type of chart. You get what I'm saying? But again, you are now, the new you. You're walking in, and that means now you have a plan every day. You know exactly what you're doing in your day. You know exactly what time your day is going to end. You know how to keep your mental together. You know how to preserve your mental energy. You know how to preserve your, your mental, care and love. And, you know how to have your peace and how to preserve that no matter what any of the side orders might be, because of the fact that you have a plan every day that's going to keep your mind, functioning and in the right direction. I promise you, you have now control of your day. You know what time when to end your day, and you know how to have self-care. But Donald, hold on, I got kids. Hold on, Donald, I got, my job and stuff like that. Okay, cool, but that's the power of planning. When you know how to align you for you, then you can be good for the kids. You could be good for the job. You could be good for whatever it is that you want to do. You might want to write a book. You might want to, film a movie. You might want to, start your album. You might want to, I don't know, start teaching. You might want to do something. You might want to start your clothing line. You might want to do certain things for a hobby that might be the very thing that you could be able to do for the rest of your life and say deuces to your job. So at the end of the day, when you go through this chart twice, this is the baseness. This is the blueprint to Elevate Circle. And we go, very deep into this. And there are people who prove to us that this system have been well. It's something that is a proven factor. I have to update this because we have tons more people that's in our, Elevate Circle community, and here's Tiffany who says, thank you for allowing me to be a part of this community. I believe that it'd be fruitful for us all. Then we have Gavin. I've never spent Tiff. I knew, Then we have Gavin Miner. He says, what a spectacular place to be, getting to solutions and outcomes that are life-changing. And then I got my boy Tynell. I've never met him until he came into Elevate Circle. Says, believe it or not, transformation have already begun with the first 2 modules in tab 1, anxiety. Glad to be a part of a community, of a life-changing community, So listen, really, these individuals and a whole bunch of others that I never thought that would come to pass like this, except the fact that I just know I want to help people. I want to connect with them. I'm your friend. I'm your brother. And I know that I want to teach you and show you something that I've never taught anybody, at all. We do have an event that's coming up this coming Thursday, July 29th, 8 p.m. It's a virtual meeting. It's called the Reset Room. And we're going very, very deep. We're going to, dig deep and dive into our 5-step system chart. I like to do stuff, in person because I feel interpersonal. I do have a link, that's above. All you got to do is just click the link, fill out the form, press submit, and we in there. You get what I'm saying? It's coming this up and coming Thursday. If you can find yourself, in this within the 5 tabs of that particular circle, if you're somebody, who you find that you're sleeping a lot in your body, but your mind is not turning off. You find yourself, mentally drained more than you are physically drained. You find yourself feeling sad, but you don't want to admit that. But instead, you start to feel and display disconnect. And you start to push yourself away from other people. You find yourself scared, and afraid, but you don't want to say that, but yet at the same time, you find yourself being restless at night, or restless wherever you go, always watching, always alert. You know what I'm saying? Always overthinking. And I want to call on all overthinkers. This is definitely for you. For those of you who are overthinkers, this is for you. I promise you, it's especially for you. Listen, do me a favor, click the link. Don't feel ashamed. Don't feel sad. Like Michael Jackson, you're not alone. I'm your friend. I'm your brother. I'll be your host. And I'll make sure that you're properly taken care of.